We're live.
So,
You
we're
know,
live.
yeah. And I added my other platform on DG platform, so we got some other folks that get to join in, and I like to say, pull up a cup, pour yourself a cup, and pull up to the table, and let us do what we do. Hey, you guys, Donald Givens, also known as DG, and the infamous, the mastermind. Coach VO. He's got Vincent Owens in there. And if you are from Colorado, you couldn't throw a rock and not hit an Owens because they are everywhere, And for those that don't know, his family and my family go way back. And this, I like to affectionately call him, he's my friend, he's my coach, he's my mentor. I go to him for financial advice. There's just so many things that that I lean on him with, and he has been a confidant. So, people look at where you are, and I can tell you, no one person gets to where they are by themselves. There was someone that they had to, in other words, kind of latch onto or get advice from. We call them mentors today, but there had to be someone that you latched onto. And so kind of what Coach VO and I did. First of all, if you guys are logging up, somebody's looks into this live, there's a link that says StreamYard. And if you want to leave comments while we're doing this live, you can do that, but you first have to click on that link. And so just quick commercial about StreamYard. Love what they're doing. And we got some big things and big plans coming here shortly. So just kind of catch you guys up to speed, if you will, for lack of a better word. Mr. Owens and myself used to sit down multiple times during the week, and he just helped transform my life. And he's Mr. Humble. He'll say things like, "Oh, Donald, you did this and this," but no, you guys, he transformed my life. He and his family. And we used to do a radio broadcast back in Colorado, and we talked about later on in life doing a radio broadcast and laying out principles and laws and things that have impacted his life and mine. And so this has been in the works for over years. And we just decided, we made a decision, hey, we're going to go ahead and do it. And so I'm super excited. And if you get an opportunity, last week we started. This week we're going to continue talking about the 3 keys to fulfillment of future. 3 keys to fulfillment of future. And Coach VO, you know what? I was thinking about that title today, and there was another book that you introduced me to because he's an avid reader, is Who Moved My Cheese?
Right.
And there was one of the characters in there was Chance, and
Right.
I discovered I did not want to leave. First of all, I didn't know, because I was just living my life, and whatever happened. It's just, hey, it's just those things happen, or they're coincidences. But as I began to sit down and talk with you, I discovered that things were not coincidence. They were not happenstance. And I did not want to leave my future, my family's future, up to chance. I didn't want to leave that to chance because, that's a 50-50. And I wanted to understand how you got where you were. And you were such an open book and begin to dialogue with me. And I just want to say, man, I know I've went pretty long in my intro, but just thank you again for joining in and giving you a chance here to share what's on your mind at this present time.
Man, I mean, there's so much, man. Thank you, for that introduction, man. That intro was amazing. I was like, wow, man, sometimes you just don't realize, I mean, when you're doing what you do or you're purposed to do, it doesn't seem like work or anything. You said you never work a day in your life. And so I'm just so honored, man, to be here on this platform, man, and just eager to get into it and kind of share with people, the principles that helped us, to get over. And the amazing thing is we're still utilizing them. It's not over. It's not dry cement. We still have some wet cement that we want to bring in to this experience of life. And so I couldn't be happier, man, to be partnered with somebody who I love and care about, man. So back over to you.
Hey, right on. So we're going to go ahead and jump in it. You know what, guys? I'm going to show you this right here. This is what we started with last week, where there were 3 keys to fulfillment of future. And we started with this first key, which is know exactly what you want. And that kind of is the springboard to the three keys. It's number one for a particular reason. Because if you don't know what you want, you're left to whatever. And I like using the analogy, Coach Vio, is when I go out to a restaurant, my wife and I enjoy a good meal. We not only go to a place where the food is good, but we like the ambiance. There's a phrase in hire and that Kay and I use is, did you get to enjoy your meal? And enjoying the meal is not just the food, but it was the ambiance. It was the waiter. It was the host. Everything. When we walk in, we like the experience of that. But when I sit down and they hand me a menu and we're talking about know what you want, the waiter gives me a menu and he asked me, sir, what would you like? I do not say, well, just give me anything. I am definite of what I want. And one of the things you taught me is learning to be definite with the infinite. How important is it to know what you want?
Man, you've got to. There's no way that you can hone down all those things on the menu. They have to wheel you out with a wheelbarrow. If you try to do all that, and you can't be a jack of all trades. You got to decide on something. You have to be specific with the terrific as well. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you can't be, a wandering generality when it comes down to your life. You said, you leave it to chance. It's 50-50. Chance you could, chance you couldn't. But if there was a way that you could stack the odds in your favor and you could begin to, predetermine, your outcome, regardless of to what it looks like right now. Some people are mesmerized by what they see. And, they say, you don't understand my circumstance. You don't understand what's pulling on me. You don't understand how I was raised and, those kinds of things. And so I said, yeah, I do. I really do. But sometimes you have to ignore that to be specific about where it is. When you get ready to travel to Chicago, you can't be looking all over the map, trying to figure out, you got to hone in on where you decide to go, man. And so, what you desire is the starting point to all achievement.
It is. And I love how you said that. Like if you're, if you're going to travel and, folks travel during the summer or they're going to make plans, they don't just say, hey, I'm going anywhere. They say, this is the place that I'm going. You know what? They have in their mind already their destination, where they're going to go. And, and it's the same thing with our life, is that we can begin the conscious effort of, okay, like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? We ask children when they're little, hey, what is it that you want to be when you what? When you grow up. Learning the power, and you spoke on it, learning the power of a decision. We're always deciding something, whether we realize it or not. Talk to us about the power of a decision, Coach.
Well, when it comes down to deciding, man, it's just really getting clear, like getting clarity of where you're going to be or, what you're going to do or what you're going to have. When you are specific about those things and you make it, you hone in on a decision, your mind works like a heat sinking missile. It hones in on everything that could make that what you decided on a reality. They say the universe really conspires to give you what you desire. It wants to give it to you. It doesn't want you here in this experience that you've been given dominion over to be a wandering generality and not be able to decide. But you have to decide. You got to determine, what it is. And, there are people out there that will try to use you up and try to do all the things to gain their advantage. However, but we're smart enough to know that when you pen it, don't just think it, ink it. You know what I'm saying? Put it on paper. Don't just leave it out there at chance. If you decide you want to go somewhere across the world or wherever it is, man, they got places to get you there. You just got to decide what it is and watch, how it comes together for you to be able to get there. All the tools that you need in order to do that, to be that or to have that, depending on what it is that you desire or want, is yours to have.
And I love how you just said, don't just think it, but ink it. And many of us, people are listening to this now, listen to it later. We've heard it before, write it down, write it down, write it down. And, like, oh, I'll do it and I'll do it. But there is a great power in writing down, that what you desire. Would you agree with that?
I agree wholeheartedly, man. Everything that, man, we walk and look at things that are written. When you walk into, can you imagine walking into a restaurant with no menu, or going down the highway with no signs to tell you
Right.
what exit to take? I mean, we're seeing things that are written all times. I was reading the text, and I think it was in Romans, and it talked about the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scripture might have hope. I know that's an ancient text, man, but it bears so much to the written word. The word was, uh, you know, logos, the written word,
Yes.
and, we're to be epistles, read and known of men, as we said last week, and so, we see the word walking, we see it in action when we're moving. But when you begin to not just think it and you begin to ink it and you put it on paper, you put the pen to the paper, well, it forces your mind and the neurotransmitters in your brain to be able to bring that to fruition, man. So it's a powerful piece.
It is a very powerful tool, is that many times that, folks are constantly, now we shared this last week, they're constantly talking about what they don't want, but they seem to be getting more of what they don't want than what they do want, and it's important and it's key to begin to say, okay, what is it that you want? This is your life. What is it that you want? But there are so many distractions. Well, I don't want this to happen. I don't want that to happen. Okay, well, things are always going to take place on the peripheral. But what you need to decide is you make a decision on what is it that you want and begin to write it down. You have these three keys. And our second key is see yourself already in possession of your fulfilled desire. Did you that? See yourself already in possession of your fulfilled desire. Coach, you hit me with these three keys, and I really like that second one, because I've made it my habit and my practice and my meditation in the morning. I already see myself, the things where I physically am not, but I am in another dimension, without going too esoteric on that one. But it's funny because I have a practice. I say whenever I leave my driveway, I see myself pulling back in. If we go on a trip, I tell everybody we were leaving, headed to the airport, and my daughter and my wife and my son was in there. I said, okay, let's stop. I want everyone to see themselves pulling back into the driveway. You know what? And that's one of the habits and practice. Whenever I leave, I see myself coming back. Why does that? What does that help me? Because I don't really worry what's going on. There's no fear in me of, this traffic accident or this is going to happen. Why? I already see myself pulling back in. Coach, talk to us about that. See yourself already in possession of your fulfilled desire.
Oh, we do it all the time. We do it constantly. We see ourselves dressed in what we had on today. What we put on, you had to see yourself with it on before you put it on. You seen yourself, on this podcast before we got on this podcast. We see ourselves, what we're going to be doing when we leave this podcast. But, we do it so quickly. Mine, you think that it just happens, as you decided, or your mind is such a wonderful mechanism. And when you see yourself in the fulfilled desire, man, I mean, it's an amazing piece that happens to you, because now that you've experienced that. I know we live in this gestation period, and I know you think that, this is all there is, but there's more to life than this. There really is. And so we don't want to, spook people out or that kind of thing, but we just want you to know that, there's more to your life than that meets the eye.
And it's funny because
out there.
There is, if you watch athletes or you see actors or someone that is elevated in a particular, on a stage or event, there's something they always say, you know what? I used to see myself doing this when I was a kid. You know, the person hitting the game-winning shot or catching the game-winning or Heisman or you name it. And I'm speaking from an athletic standpoint. You'll hear them say something like, you know, I saw myself doing this as a kid. You know, I remember growing up, you know, on the basketball courts. We always do it. You count down 3, 2, 1, and you see yourself hitting. Yeah, you go through the motion. You see yourself hitting a game-winning shot, or you see yourself making that play. And it's interesting because all they're doing is applying a principle. They are continuing to rehearse in their mind on the inward part what the expectation is on the outward part. Doesn't change. It doesn't change at all.
No, man, it never changes, man. And so, you know, the process is always the same. You know, sometimes when we begin to use it for the fulfillment of our future, you know, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, you know, the prelude, the part of our life that we're architecting, okay,
Yes.
that we're building for, you know.
There we go.
You know,
Yes.
you know, we built for this part, you know, or someone helped us build for it, or, you know, we were on automatic pilot and someone was guiding us through it, getting what they desired from it. But when you take ownership of your own life and, you know, you're responsible for your experience. And, you know, I stopped making excuses. And the minute I stopped making excuses, I stopped blaming the other guy. I stopped blaming the, you know, the guy across the fence or the guy that had all this, and realized, you know, what I possessed. And, you know, there's only one mind. There's only one mind. There's
Yes.
only one mind in the entire planet, in the entire universe.
Yes. Yes.
And that same mind created everything. It created that picture that's behind me, created the table that this is sitting on, created the shirt that I'm wearing, created the car that I drove over here in. The same mind did it. Now, if you're able to tap into that mind, there's
Come on.
absolutely nothing that you can't accomplish. You know, and I'm just here to tell you, I'm not here to just sell you a book or, you know, give you a tape or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as they're giving you what you need. And there's that exchange, the great exchange. You know, Donald said earlier that we didn't get here by ourselves. There were some great people who exchanged some things. We exchanged our money for their knowledge. It was a great exchange. It was a great trade-off. I thought I walked away with a better deal. You know, they gave me sometimes more in use value than I spend in cash value. And now that this divide is happening, this reset is happening, this digital divide is coming,
Come
man,
on.
there's a future that we need to prepare for. There's a, you know, there's some new frontiers and some new horizons. I've coined this era for me, the dawning of a new era. That's
Yes.
just, you know, I like to name when I'm getting ready to go. You know, put some life into this thing. You know, and this is the dawning of a new era. You know, a new age coming. You know, and you know, we just have so many. Uh, how could I say? So many opportunities that present themselves when you get clear on what it is that you desire, and then you see yourself already in the wish fulfilled.
What is
Already.
what would you say is a hurdle for folks that struggle with that number two, seeing themselves? You know, because it sounds easy, like, okay, see myself. But what would you say is a hurdle where people are really struggling in that area where they're struggling seeing themselves and the things that they desire and the things that, what is one of the obstacles you would think or has helped you to overcome once you really begin to dive into these principles and you begin to apply them in your life?
Well, I realized there was really no obstacle. There was really no obstacle. The only obstacle was the one that I put, you
Ah,
know, you know what I mean? I
yeah.
was seeing myself doing things. I'd see myself slapping the taste out of somebody's mouth. You know, no, I'm just kidding. But, you know, you saw yourself doing negative things. I'm using that as an analogy to say, you know, we always saw ourselves doing something. Or when I see that so and so, I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. When I, you know, and
Yes.
if and before you know it, you would see that person, and you'd have to, you know,
Execute on what what
Do
you
what you
said, right?
said you were going to
Yeah,
do. You had
yeah,
to follow through on the
yeah,
decision long after the mood had passed. You had to follow through on that thing, right?
right.
So it was just being able to channel it in a different way, and then doing it like you say over and over again. You get more better, and you start to see more. You start to see it in 3D. You start to define it. You can hone it in reality with people. You can hear voices of people talking, and I mean, it's just good stuff. It's just good stuff.
It is one
We
of the
do it all
things
the time.
we do it all the time, and I share that with people. I'm saying you're doing it all the time. You're just not doing it from a conscious state, you know. And I love to give folks simple analogies or things that they can say, you know, aha, I am doing it. And you spoke on it earlier from the example of like you see yourself dressed before you already put it on, you know. And it's interesting because you know my wife and I are going out. She'll go through and she'll grab this thing like, nope, don't, I don't. She when she grabs it, if that's not what she wants, she'll put it back. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. And when she grabbed it, she already saw herself in it. Listen,
Correct.
you're already creating. You're already experiencing the possession of your fulfilled desire. You're already doing it, but we're doing it from an unconscious and unaware state. Let's say that you're hungry or you're thirsty, you know, or you're going out to eat, or you're going to an event. You already see yourself in the event, and it's interesting because while you see yourself in the event, you know what? If it's something you really enjoy, you start smiling or you start laughing. You're already playing the conversation that's going to go on. Oh, you know, my good friend and their wife or their kids are coming, and so you're already playing it in. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it, and then when it materializes on this level, we sort of sometimes forget, you know, because we're caught in that moment, but we forget that you created it over here. You know, you've already saw it, and now you're just executing it on the stage of life. And so once I really begin, not that you get it 100% because we're going, but you learn to slow down and consciously create. You know, you discipline yourself to slow down and consciously create. What do you think about that, Coach?
I think it's amazing, you know, when you do, you know, you have to get yourself inside the right mood to be able to see. You know, I told you about the time, you know, we had to climb that big old mountain, and you know, Ridgely Goldsboro was up there, man, and we went up, got up early that morning for that hike, man, and it was like a 14er, man. It was, to me,
Right,
it was like,
right.
you know, and I was sitting back there, and I was almost not being able to. I thought about, you know, turning around and going back to that hut, you know what I mean? And we were in, uh, I forget the name of the place right now. It's in Santa Barbara, but anyway, uh,
I
I
remember
saw
that.
it,
Yeah.
and I saw Summer, girl, Summer Carter, who had really extremely long legs, and she was going up she was striding. I said, man, I gotta get up there, you know. I'm not gonna be back here and say Summer Carter got to the top of that hill before me. And she was just someone who I saw going up. I just walked past and got up there. But when we got up there, it was amazing. They told us to be real quiet, like shh.
Right.
I mean, it was breathtaking, like the most beautiful scenario that I mean, it's in my head right now. You know, we're looking at the Pacific Ocean over there. There was a school of whales coming through, and everybody that came up said, "Grab a seat and be quiet." There were seagulls flying over.
Right.
It was the most absolute serene place that I've seen. And his message that morning was the view was worth the climb.
Yes. Yes.
When you get something in your mind that you desire and deserve, man, it's worth doing the work for it. It's worth
I love
putting the
that.
furniture where it needs to be. It's worth, you know, saying, hey, you know, in 3D, feel the the salt water on your face. I can still feel that the breeze of the condensation in the air on my skin while I was listening to you know the birds, the seagulls, watching the school of whales go through, and then watching the people's face as they climbed the crest of that hill and got up there where we were. And we just sat in complete silence for about 10 minutes. And it was absolutely amazing. And man, if when you get that kind of stuff going on, man, you can
Yeah.
create whatever you desire.
And that's it. You can create wherever you desire. And while you were talking, I was thinking about something. You know, you hear the phrase that we're living in such uncertain times, you know, and it's interesting because Kay and I, we were like, well, I'm not living in an uncertain time. I understand what they're saying. Hey, we've got viruses going. We've got overseas. We got this going. We've got upheaval over here. And we're living in such uncertain time. Well, I decided I did not want my life to be architected or to be orchestrated in an uncertain arena. I wanted to be, there's some things I am certain about. And so back to that, fulfillment of my future is not uncertain. It is certain. Why? Because I am actively taking action in part to bring it to fulfillment. And so go ahead.
You're a co-creator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get to co-create. And,
Yeah.
It's not uncertain. They said that's what belief is. It's a feeling of absolute certainty.
Certainty. Come on.
When you believe a thing to that extent, it's absolutely certain. I believed that this chair was going to hold me. I was absolutely certain about it, or I wouldn't have sat down. I believed we were going to be on this apparatus to talk and share principles and keys and tips and techniques. I believed it wholeheartedly.
Yes.
Even if I had some difficulty getting on, it was really on me. And so, but if you persevere, you'll make it on. And it's just that simple. It will open up for you.
And so the question I posed earlier was like, okay, what do you see an obstacle? And I love how you said it that, climbing that mountain, like, hey, back in Santa Barbara, we had to get up early and they spoke what was, on the horizon, though I could not see it. I could not physically see it, but I knew that there was going to be something that this climb or this what appears to be a physical struggle was going to be well worth it. And once you got to the top, it exceeded even your expectation. But the beautiful thing is when you were along the way that you saw this young lady, she was leaping and she didn't even know that did something inside of you. You're like, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to let, there's a place where sometimes we want to quit. We're like, it's not happening. It's not doing it, but someone's going to come along, and whether they knowingly or unknowingly, they're going to push you. They're going to push you. And you almost want to say, thank you for going ahead and let me seeing you make it look easy. Where for me, it was, like, okay, you know what? I'm not a rock climber. I'm sort of out of my element, but I'm not going to quit. There's something about not quitting also.
Man, there's so much, man. When you don't give up, man, if I'd have given up, man, I wouldn't have been able to see that view. I would have had to take somebody else's word for what I experienced myself. I wouldn't have had my own testimony.
Yes.
You want your own success testimony. You don't want to, it's great to have a mentor. It's great to have that. But, there was a point in time, where you had to come into your own. You had to step into, the theater in your own mind. You know what I mean? And you had to see yourself, with, being, doing and having what we're doing right now. And man, you walked it out. You decided, you put the work in, and voila, here we are. And I'm so grateful. I'm humbled at the fact that I get to be on something that was created out of the mind of the maker. You know what I mean? And so I'm just excited.
I tell you, one of the things, and we'll get to this one right here, immobilize the body to a state likened unto sleep, is that I have discovered and then continue to discover when you are creating, you are at your best. We talked, and I think I shared with you, or it's not even my phrase, it's someone else. It says, an idle mind is a devil workshop. We should, when you are creating, when you are continuing in a state of creation, you are at your best, because there's so much that is afforded to us when we are. It opens so many areas inside of us when we are continuing to create, like this broadcast. Okay, let me learn, because now you're learning. You're shifting a lot of things that are going on. It's moving mentally from one place to another. And then you get to see, it's like molding the clay. It's like molding clay. You get to see, where your hands were in the clay. You get to kind of see the finished product, if you will, which will continue to grow too.
Man, it's exciting, man. Creation, everything that we see had a genesis.
Yes.
And it was in the unseen realm before it became in the seen realm. I'm here looking out the windows, and I'm seeing, the university campus of Colorado Medical Center. And I can remember when all that was Fitzsimmons, but I remember when it was a whole, army base, and you had to do all kinds of things to get into that main gate, and you couldn't just roll up there like you can now. But someone had some real vision. Someone had some uncanny vision, man, to take it out of the invisible realm, to put it on paper, to get it to an architect, to get it to the builders and the developers and the electricians and all the people it takes to collaborate to make what I'm looking at right now.
Yes.
And go ahead.
It is. No. We don't interrupt. We just because I remember that land. It was land. It was a base there, but it didn't stay. It transformed. You know what?
Yeah.
Listen, they said we're going to be closing base, so they transformed it. There was a state of transformation, and that's what we go through. We are always continuing to transform. And Paul spoke on the transformation, but he gave us a recipe on what to transform. He told us, don't be conformed, but be ye transformed. And this is what he told us to do, it by the renewing of your mind. When you're talking about looking at, for those that aren't Colorado, we had multiple military installations. And one of the military installation was an Army base that was almost in the center. It bordered between Aurora, Colorado and Denver, Colorado. And many years ago, once the government decided they're going to be closing bases, that was one of the bases. Well, when you tried to go, you had to go. You could make a shortcut and leave Denver and get to Aurora going through that base, but you had to have access to get through. And once they closed it, it literally sat for a while. It was like a lot of bases that happened in the United States. They were deciding what they were going to do, but they transformed that base into one of the premier medical facilities in the world. Anschutz Medical Center is one of the premier there's so many things that go on in that facility. Well, they understand the principle of renewing. Someone understood the power of a renewed mind, transforming one to another. And I think that's so powerful. The analogy that you gave us on that base being transformed from a military institution to now one of the premier medical facilities in almost, here in these here United States.
Yeah, it serves as a function, man, that two different functions. It was functioning this way beforehand, serving the government, serving the military, but now it's serving the people and the citizens of Colorado medically, and educating our future doctors and surgeons, and all the medical field people who are actually contributing to the well-being of the community in which they serve. And I think it's a tremendous thing to be able to do. But we have the same mind to be able to take your whatever challenges, situations, and circumstances, guys. You don't have to succumb to them. You can change it if you desire and deserve it. If you feel you deserve it, you can do it.
I love it. The third of our three keys is to immobilize. One of the things is that I've learned is this: immobilize the body to a state likened unto sleep. You're already seeing the accomplishment. you're hearing someone you respect congratulating you on a fulfillment. You know, when you look at this and you're like, oh, yeah. I'm telling you, once you this is so powerful because we do it anyway. You know, it's funny when you watch people. I was doing it the other day. I think I was headed to go grab lunch, but I was having this conversation in my mind and my hands were moving, and the lady behind the counter looked at me and I'm like, oh, I'm just having a mental conversation. I busted out laughing, you know. I maybe wasn't immobilized, but I was having this conversation, you know. And it's powerful when you can slow things down. The power about immobilizing is you train your mind, you know, that those monkeys that they talk about, you learn to quiet them and quiet everything that's going on and begin to consciously concentrate on that. What are your thoughts on that, brother?
You know, I love it because you know, early in the morning, you know, when before my family gets to rustle around and bustle around, you know, I like to get up early and just sit in silence, you know, pray and meditate on the word and sit in silence and just, it's amazing. It was difficult at first, you know, but I started to do it for
Oh
a
my
few minutes.
gosh. Yeah.
Oh man, cause I had so many yaks in my head. I was thinking about this and what happened
Yeah.
last night
Yeah.
and who was
Yeah.
going to do it in the morning, and I had 10,000 voices. So,
Yeah.
but you know, practice makes improvement.
Yes,
When
it
you
does.
begin to
Come on.
just try it for a couple minutes, and then do it for 5 minutes, and then for 10 minutes, and to sit you know, in silence, man, it's amazing. You know, then you can begin to see what you need to see.
Yes.
You can. It's like walking into a theater and a movie screen being there, and whatever you want to see on that screen can pop up. That's the way I look at it. Like I'm going to the movies.
Yes.
You know, they had the let's go down to the lobby. Let's go down to the lobby to get
Let's go there.
yourself a snack.
Come on. Well, I'm at
They
the
were
theater. Yes.
subliminal. While you
Yeah.
were at the theater,
Yeah.
they were, you know, they were subconsciously telling you, or subliminally
Yeah. Subliminal.
suggesting
Yeah.
that you go down to that lobby and you
Right.
get yourself a snack.
Yes.
I mean, it was, you know, it was a little jingle to it. Let's go down to the lobby. Let's
Yeah.
go down to the lobby. Let's go down to the lobby
And get
and get
yourself
your.
a snack. Guess what I'm gonna do, honey? I'll be right back. Where you going? I'm about to go get myself what?
I'm gonna get some
A snack.
popcorn
Yeah.
and
I'm gonna give it. Right. Right. Right.
a liter of corn, fructose, sugar, Coke. You know, and man, you come back there with butter popcorn and you thought it was your idea. It wasn't. It
That,
wasn't your idea. It was
right.
somebody else's idea.
Yes.
You know, we think that all this stuff, man, that's going on CNN and all this, man, that's why it's good for us to have these type of podcasts that we can combat some of these broadcasts
Yes.
and begin to help people say, listen, guys, use your head for something other than a hat rack. You know, find out that there's more to life than just being dictated what to do. You can create your future. The
The
best way to predict the future is to create it.
yes. One of the things when I begin to immobilize is I train myself how to filter out the noise. You
Yeah.
know, how to filter out the noise, and it becomes easier the more you do it. You know,
So what works for you? How do you do that? Can you tell me? I
I
like to
can't.
hear how other. Yeah.
Well, mine is it was sort of the same thing that you mentioned. When I began to do it, I love getting up early in the morning when, you know, I grab me a cup of coffee because that's my morning ritual. I go make me a cup of coffee. And then I'd grab a chair and I started sitting for at least a minute at first. And when I did it, man, I would say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. You know, it was even before my prayer. My mind would run it would be funny because I couldn't hold the thought for a minute. I could not hold the thought for 60 seconds, you know, but then everything became steps of progression. I close my eyes right now because I see myself doing it. And but when I begin to notice, I became aware that my thought left, I brought it back. I brought it back. Now it would go, I couldn't, you know, it would be, 15, 30, 45 seconds before I would become aware that, hey, I'm no longer, conscious of that thought that I was trying to keep. But when I begin to see it leave, I could bring that thought back. And the more I brought that thought back, the easier it was to do it. And then I could continue to keep that particular thought. Now, once I kept that thought, I could begin to see myself what I wanted to do. Listen, I am doing now what I always wanted to do. I'm like right now, this broadcast. You and I talked about this years ago, but I am doing it. I'm living the life that I wanted to live, and it all began with seeing myself doing immobilizing. Now, if I'm out and about, I can quiet, even if I'm in a place that's busy, sometimes I will take myself and quiet it instantly. I can now quiet out the noise when I'm in the midst of it, because I learned to help focus and concentrate. So for me, it was learning that early morning when it's quiet, but watching how they take off. You mentioned the news and you mentioned so many things, and it's interesting because if you're not careful, you're watching the indiscriminate television or the television, and you'll begin to see yourself in the despair. You'll begin to say, for example, like the drug commercials. And it's funny, they always ask a question. Do you feel like you can't sleep, or do you feel this, or do you feel that? And then you start saying, yeah, I am starting to feel like that, or I am starting to do that. They find a way to ask the question to bring you in. And then once my mind gets in there, I'm about to go buy me some popcorn and a drink, Coach Vio.
Yes, sir. It's amazing to me. I just, they call it programming, what I mean? And they call it programming for a reason. We're getting back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And getting people in the routine of having certain information, and you become accustomed to, what you repeatedly do. And if the news comes on early in the morning, then midday news, then 4 o'clock news, and then 5 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock at night. I mean, those are healthy doses of programming.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they serve it up. They tee it up. All you got to do is hit it. So,
yes.
You see people running around here, with fear, and I get it. I understand it. But they say, no, I heard it on the news. Uh, you know, and the Northeast, South, and West, or West and
Yes.
South, NEWS, right? They're getting it from all directions. And so when you wake up hearing this and you go to sleep hearing this and you're hearing it, no wonder people come out, man, they're looking at you like, are you afraid? No, I'm not. No. I
Right.
mean, I have a plan for my life.
Yes.
I have a specific plan, and I'm not, how could I say it? I'm not going to be pulled astray because
Yes.
Joe Biden said, like, come on, Mr. Biden, you got some work to do. Get
Right.
about that work. And, and they just want to have a captive audience that they can. I'm not going to get into all that, but I don't spend a lot of time thinking about them.
Correct.
I spend, I spend a lot of time you know, putting down on paper, you know, the direction that we're traveling for this dawning of the new era.
I love
We're
that.
prepared for it. We are helping people take advantage of it, that they can begin to plug into it, and they too can have a dawning of a new era.
Which is very powerful. You guys, it's coming upon 45 minutes or a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of just highlight again the 3 keys to fulfillment of, you know what, your future. Know exactly what you want. You hear us talk about this all the time, but you're doing that anyway. You are unconsciously moving in the direction or requesting things that you want. Like, this is what I want. But when you can consciously begin to know exactly what you want, you watch. And I love how Coach Vio put that the universe conspires to bring it. See yourself already in possession of your fulfilled desire. Okay, so now we have a desire, but I want to see myself already having it. The challenge with that is that mind that we talked about will say, well, it's not here, it's not there. Yeah, you're just making this up. That'll never happen. No, you begin to retrain your thought process. You begin to retrain that says, I may not physically see it, but the desire will come, and immobilize the state, liken unto sleep, seeing it already accomplished, hearing someone you respect congratulating you on your fulfillment. I love it because you and I were talking about the conversation. You said, man, I always hear you say, great job. You hear you say, Donald, I always hear you say, oh, coach, I knew you were, as you're walking across the stage, you said, I'm always having a conversation with you. And likewise, I'm always having that conversation with you. So I am living these principles, brother. I am living these keys, and my external world is a reflection of it. Oh, you froze on me. And so, I think he froze on me. So, hey,
Yeah, man.
there he is. All right.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The internet. But I want to thank you folks for joining. I want to thank you for those that'll be listening to it later. Give me some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. And it's coming in and out. No worries. But our plans will be doing this at least once a week, and begin to share the tips and principles, laws, and the laws that we use that help to change your life. All right, Coach Vio, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Again, I thank you, my friend. My wife and I, we love you and your wife so much, and we're just eternally grateful for you and your family. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.